I've heard Kubernetes adds an abstraction layer around containerized microservices. Can you explain how it works?
Sure. Kubernetes abstracts microservices into a unit called a pod, which is the smallest deployable unit. Each pod can contain one or more containers.
What if I need to run multiple instances of a pod or keep track of changes?
Kubernetes enables you to create a component called deployment that manages your pods, including setting parameters like the desired number of replicas for easy scaling.
That sounds useful for managing replicas. How does networking work between pods?
Each pod gets its own IP address, but there's a catch: if the machine hosting a pod restarts, the pod's IP might change.
That sounds like a problem for communication.
It is, but Kubernetes solves this with a service, which provides a static IP that doesn't change. The service targets the pods created and managed by a deployment, making them consistently reachable even if pod IPs change.
Does the service do anything else?
Yes, it acts as a load balancer if you have multiple replicas of a pod, distributing traffic among them efficiently.
I want to make my app accessible from outside the cluster, but can I use an internal service for that?
No, an internal service, like cluster IP, won't work because it's designed for communication only within the cluster. It gives your pods a static IP for other pods to reach them but doesn't expose the app to external users.
So, what should I use to make it accessible externally?
You'll need an external service, like Nodeport for direct node access or load balancer for an external IP.
That makes sense. But what if I want to use a domain name or route traffic to different parts of the app?
For that, use an ingress. It handles HTTP/HTTPS requests, lets you assign domain names, and routes traffic to different parts of your app.
That covers networking. What about configuration management?
Kubernetes has config maps for storing non-sensitive configuration data, and secrets for sensitive information like passwords and API keys.
How does Kubernetes handle storage for my application?
Kubernetes itself does not provide storage; instead, it uses volumes as an abstraction to connect your pods to external storage systems.
What kinds of storage can they use?
They can use local disks or cloud storage like AWS EBS or Google Persistent Disk.
That's awesome, but I can't really picture how Kubernetes manages all these components on the cluster nodes.
Let me break down the Kubernetes architecture for you.